Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 5 of HorrorHouse Picture Show. I think you got a glimpse of the two lovely, wonderful guests that are going to be on this episode talking about Death Becomes Her, which is a film that was recommended to me. Oh dear, we have issues. We have issues. Ignore all that. Oh God, ignore that. Cracking start. Great start to the episode. We had some echoing, very, very bad echoing issues. I don't like listening to myself. What was I saying? We're talking about Death Becomes Her because that was recommended to me by Kimber on her recent episode of the main show. That she insists, I want you, you have to watch Death Becomes Her. So we watched it together, which was fun.
We did.
All three of us. And we're going to talk about that. So go on, guys. Your Death Becomes Her veterans. I'm more of a novice.
Well, it's one of my favorite movies. I've watched it since I was a kid. Basically, it came out in '92. I'm now. It's one of my favorites. It's super campy. It's super fun. I like the special effects that they did. Favorites, and I had shown it to Tom about a year ago, maybe.
No,
a little more than that.
I think it was the second time you came and visited.
Ago then, and so this was only his second time watching the movie.
Right.
So we're getting like different perspectives with your first time, his second time, and me, I don't know, 100th time watching it.
I'm an in-betweener.
You're not like a literal in-betweener from the sitcom. You're just an in-betweener with death.
I don't know what that means, so I'm guessing I did not mean that.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, it's very campy, it's very silly, but it knows it's silly and it's very fun because of that. It works. It is like, it's the less gory sister to Evil Dead. It knows it's silly and it plays on that.
Yeah, like I was saying while we were watching it, it definitely plays by cartoon rules. But there's reasoning behind that.
It's like body horror for girls.
Yeah.
It's about vanity.
Yeah.
Your body is betraying you, but not like that it's trying to kill you. It's betraying you in the way that you're looking in the mirror and you're not seeing the person that you once were. Your parents is very important to them. So they're watching themselves decay in a different type of way than usual with body horror.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty interesting that way. I mean, I haven't come across a film quite like it that talks about the vanity, female vanity in body horror in that way, because it is. I mean, they get this what would you call it? Potion, cure, whatever it is.
Serum, elixir, anything.
That is injected into them and makes them look younger. Makes Meryl Streep and Goldie Hawn, who were both great in the film, really good.
Yes.
But yeah, it's used to make them look younger because they don't. It's all very vain, but it's.
And the serum is interesting too because it does make them look better, and it certainly helps them like maintain their beauty, but it doesn't heal them in any way. It just protects them from dying.
Yeah.
Like, take care of yourselves. You only get this one body,
Which is weird because in order to show them like how it works, first do the finger, the prick heals, so it's kind of like a false.
Almost, yeah. I mean, they healed to the extent that they're like they can function. They
decay
physically, yes.
They start
for sure
decaying away and melting and rotting, and it proves for some laughs, to be fair. It's very funny. It's a very funny. I was not expecting it to be as funny as it was, especially Bruce Willis, who
gotta love
he was
Bruce
amazing.
Willis.
In the most non-Bruce Willis role you're ever likely to see Bruce Willis in. But as this nerdy doctor who is just basically, what's the PG term to use for someone that does whatever?
Flaccid.
Flaccid. Perfect transition into a funny scene from the film.
She says to him, she says, "You are nothing. You're a tragic, boozy, flaccid clown."
Flaccid.
How many times does she repeat the word flaccid, though?
4.
She does it several times there, and then, of course, with the classic flaccid, where she, like, shakes her tongue at him. I can't. It's too good. Oh. She is unbelievably brilliant in that movie. Like, I love a lot of things about that movie, but, like, my queen in that movie. It is, like, they're very petty characters, but it's hysterical to watch because, again, we're talking about something that's satirical and a cartoon in real life. I saw Mormo talking in the chat about how it was very influenced by Tales from the Crypt. This is basically the best episode you're ever going to get of Tales of the Crypt. That's a great way to look at this.
Yeah,
you can't take your eyes off of her in this movie because her performance is so over the top in the most appropriate way for this movie that it would not be the same thing without her. Like,
oh yeah, definitely.
The whole thing together, this movie, like, she steals it for me.
Yeah, from the Crypt, like, vibe, because, like, it's very much the monkey paw wish where it's like, yes, they get what they want, but at what price, which was
exactly.
Crypt was, like, based on.
Exactly. I mean, Meryl Streep for me, like, if I think of Meryl Streep, because this film came out in 1992, so if I think of Meryl Streep before then, it's subtle, dramatic performances, like a Kramer versus Kramer, like a Deer Hunter, like even a Sophie's Choice, like a Manhattan, Woody Allen's Manhattan. Even they're more like the 70s, right? But that is sort of that is what I think of when I think of Meryl Streep. I think of those type of performances. So to see her in this doing a role like this, that's just completely like 300% over the top and loud and funny and silly, and to do it so well was really enjoyable for me. It just makes me respect Meryl Streep more, which is just great.
For sure. I think you get everybody playing against type in this movie. Bruce Willis is very un-Bruce Willis-y. You get Goldie Hawn in the beginning of the movie where she's, like, very mousy, and then in the middle of the movie where she's having a breakdown. Like, those are very un-Goldie Hawn type. And you see a transition in Meryl Streep here that definitely influenced stuff that she did later, because you get the feel of, like, The Devil Wears Prada or something. Like, you can see that in Ashton.
Yeah, I mean,
she's amazing.
She is. I think that's what we have to take away from this, really. Kimber watching it for the 70th time, Tom for the second, me for the first. Meryl Streep is amazing.
He is.
That's just a statement that's going to stick. Let's welcome some people who are in the chat, because we have, who do we have? We have Delicia, Randall, Raul, Momo, and that's everyone. Hello, guys. How are we all doing?
Hi.
If you have, as usual, if you have any questions, please send them. We will try and answer questions, except not about Get Out, because as we know, Get Out hasn't come out here yet.
Yeah, we have not seen it yet either. Looking forward to it now.
Sadness, tears. Death becomes back onto topic.
I wanted to bring up the mirrors.
Yes.
We were all watching this movie and we were noticing the amazing use of mirrors in this. The director, obviously, Robert Zemeckis, took a lot of considering his shots and using mirrors brilliantly. There's over 40 of them in the movie that you get different shots from and stuff. We love the one with in the background and he's shooting, like you see him in the mirror responding. And
I love the maid waking her up in the morning, and the whole time she's not behind her, she's in front of her. I like that a lot too.
And even like down to the use of that, I know you love that shot with Bruce Willis's glasses with the fire blazing in them.
Yeah, reflection.
Yeah.
There's a lot of reflections, and I mean, for a film that is about vanity, you know, it makes sense to go that way, you know, as from a directing standpoint. And yet that scene where the maid is waking her up, I didn't realize it was a mirror until so long into that scene.
Yeah.
I don't there is, you know, when something like that is noticeable in a film, it's clearly there for a purpose.
Yes.
You know, it's full credit to Robert Zemeckis, who of course is a great filmmaker anyway, we all know that.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
To also make it seem like the shot couldn't exist without it. You know what I mean? Like the shot where he's talking to her in the mirror. Like, if that mirror wasn't there, then that scene would almost be useless because you can't see Bruce. Like,
they're like comic book frames, which again, like going back to like going back to like Tales from the Crypt, it's very like the movie is made like a comic book is read. Specifically when you get to scenes like when they're considering staging Madeline's death. That felt very much like a comic book, the way they're showing like bottles into the car and putting her foot on the pedal and stuff. Like that whole thing felt like a comic book when you're watching it. And I really appreciate the direction that they went with that. And the visual effects too really stand up for how old that movie is. The same people who did Jurassic Park did them. So it's not terribly surprising. They won an Academy Award for special effects.
Well, fair enough. I mean, you know, for maybe when some people would think of like a fantasy comedy horror from the early 90s with a bit of body, you know, body horror, bit of blood and gore in there, not too much. You know, you'd be forgiven for thinking, oh, I bet those effects are a bit iffy, but they've really fit the film. Like even as far as stuff like Meryl Streep's head almost falling off, it makes sense. It's a bit campy, but it makes sense that it's like that, and because of the way and the tone of the film, the style of film that it is, it just makes sense, and it adds to the humor, which is a big part of Death Becomes Her.
Well, I also like, and I would think you two would agree with me, being such Vincent Price fans, that this horror is a horror movie that embraces the camp.
Yeah.
Which you know that right off the beginning, and which is why you let things slide because you know it's a campy movie.
Yeah, I was saying when we were watching it that it is an old movie at this point, but it has the feel of a much older movie than it is. Old Hollywood feel to it that's really classic.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. You know, it does. It's sort of like the relationships between the characters are very like 1950s.
Mm-hmm. It's got like a noir feel to it as well, with the dialogue and the delivery, and I love it. I love the style. I could go for another movie that was in this style, but do not remake this movie.
Raul just asked us about a remake, and the biggest thing, I think you would lose that charm because it does have it's not the same royalty. Like Emma Stone may have just won an Oscar, but she's not like established like Meryl Streep was. And they would either or Goldie Hawn, and I think they would either like not make it campy enough that they would try to make it a real horror movie and they would lose again its charm. Or I mean, they made it too campy and then it's just not as good.
Again,
but if you were gonna remake it, theoretically, you should probably put Goldie Hawn's daughter in her role, Kate Hudson.
Oh yeah, that works.
Yeah, that would make sense. But again, you don't remake something like this. It's one of those.
It's perfect.
It wouldn't work as a remake. Remakes are for slightly flawed things that can be improved on with this. You would lose so much. And not to bring up Evil Dead again, but when they remade Evil Dead, it completely lost all the humor. It was just a good evil cabin in the woods movie.
I did like that though. I liked that remake. It wasn't the same thing.
Perfectly good remake, but it wasn't funny.
Yeah.
So it was a perfectly good movie, but it wasn't funny.
It's the charm that you would lose that this movie has.
It is. It's the same with this. You couldn't remake it, but thank you for the question, Raoul, and hello to Eric as well, who has joined us.
I have a bit of a folklore legend for you.
Oh well, this is going to be good. We know Tom loves his folklore.
Okay, so they made a really big deal that what's her real name?
Who?
The goddess.
Liesl?
Liesl von Rumen is the character's name, but I was trying to remember the actress's.
Isabella Rossellini.
That's it. Okay.
Oh,
yeah, she was side note, married to Martin Scorsese and dated David Lynch. Yeah.
So she kept saying she was like a spring, like talking about the spring and everything like that. So I'm like, all right, I got to figure out if they're actually trying to make this like an actual goddess. So von Rumen, which is her last name, means of pomegranate, and pomegranates are associated to Persephone, who is the goddess who Hades married, who is has dominion between hell and earth, who is a springtime goddess. And she dealt a lot with Helen of Troy, Helen being one of the characters in
That's Goldie Hawn's character's name is Helen.
Very nice.
Yeah, so I think there is
Helen Sharp.
Then you have
Dr.
Meryl
Ernest Menville too, you said there was a
Yeah. Well, Meryl Streep. So when you're talking as far as Helen and Bruce Willis's character, Menville, Village of Men, all the men going after Helen of Troy. That's kind of, I feel like that's kind of like an homage to that. But
there's a lot of stuff that you think about unless you look into it.
Yeah.
Meryl Streep's name, the combination is Ashton, and it's a type of ash tree fairy is like her first name, and they spring back from blood. So it's kind of like a rebirth from blood thing. So it's cool, like all the little like Easter eggs they put in the movie. Like I just was like Persephone, and then I found a bunch of other things.
Yeah, you don't necessarily think about the names of characters all that much, but there's proof that it can add to, it can add layers that you wouldn't think.
That's huge on like Game of Thrones.
Oh yeah, Game of Thrones,
they're huge with the hints in the names.
Jorah Mormont is Jorah is a region of like cement quarry mountains, and in the Mormont region. So he doesn't have stone skin in the books, but it's kind of weird how it kind of works to his favor in that side too.
But a shout out in the movie, I don't know if you guys noticed, but that was Fabio as Liesl's bodyguard.
I didn't notice. He had dark hair though.
Yeah, but that's Fabio
as
a cameo as the bodyguard. I know you liked his the belt.
The belt is dope.
And when they were filming this, Meryl Streep during the shovel scene accidentally hit Goldie Hawn in the face and left a scar on her face.
That's hilarious. I mean, it's really not funny at all. Violence is not funny.
Yeah, she didn't do it on purpose, obviously.
Accident, oh God.
Yeah, I wrote some fun facts. This movie came out the same weekend as Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the movie.
Wow.
So two good. Told Tom we could have probably talked about Buffy the Vampire Slayer on the horror comedy episode. That's another good one.
That's one we missed.
Kill her till she's dead.
No, kill her a lot.
Kill her a lot. That's
what. Ripped my new jacket. Kill her a lot.
Oh dear.
talk about some good lines from the movie.
Yeah, another thing I found is that there were a number of scenes that were deleted from this movie. When they tested it with audiences, they had a completely different ending, and audiences hated it, so they switched to the ending that it has now. But initially, they had Tracy Ullman playing a bartender that Ernest falls in love with and has a plot to fake his own death and to run away with her. And people hated it. So Tracy Ullman's entire character got cut out of the movie.
Yeah, I kind of like the ending, how it was. It ended pretty well for me.
I like it.
I did know
ironic because...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. Pretty funny as well. I didn't...
At what point are you like, oh, how many chicks are chasing this clown?
Yeah.
He started to
What were you saying, Morgan?
I just noticed in Raul said in the chat, he's put, so did you actually like the movie? Because I don't think I've said that yet. Yeah, I did. I did like the movie. It was a good movie. It was a good movie. It was a perfectly good movie. Funny. Better than I expected it was going to be. To be perfectly honest with you, I know you'd hyped it up.
It's in my top 10.
See, I won't go that far.
You haven't been watching it since childhood. I find this to be one of the most quotable movies of all time. Like, I find, like, in my family, my mom, my dad, like, we all quote this movie all the time. Like, if you were to walk up to my mom and say, like, the morgue, she'll be furious. Like, we can quote that movie all day. Like, there's not a wasted moment in this movie. Like, everything is played up for either, like, an aesthetic reason or a comedic reason. It's not, like, to me, it's a perfect movie. There's nothing I would change about this movie, which is why it's terribly surprising to me that it has a 50% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, I mean,
with only a slightly higher audience score. Like, that's bonkers to me. This movie is so good and it has so much to offer. Like, very underappreciated.
Yeah.
That's why I have to appreciate it so much.
Yeah, going off low ratings like that, it's underappreciated. People are not giving this film as much love as it deserves if it's low at 50%.
Yeah, even the audience score is only 61%.
Right.
It's not like it's terribly, which I would consider this movie like a cult classic. Like,
yeah, I think
definitely a fan base for.
It feels like that, one of those that. Well, you introduced me to it because I'd never heard of it before that. And now I've watched it and I've not wasted my time with watching it. It was a good movie. I enjoyed the movie. So, it's one of those.
Brian loves this movie. Ashley and Joe said it's possibly in their top 10. I see Eric and Raul giving it love. Like, people love this movie. It's weird to me.
Yeah. What else do we have in this chat?
I had one. Helen took her potion on October 26, 1985. 2 fun facts about this. Obviously, with Robert Zemeckis as the director, that's a direct Back to the Future reference. That's like the day that Back to the Future takes place. And also, that's exactly 1 year before I was born.
Woo! So now we all know Kimber's birthday, so she'll be expecting presents. Everyone.
They did pretty good last year.
Yeah, they did. I loved the cards. Randall in the chat says they don't show it on TV as much as they used to. It's funny, when I was researching stuff for this, it was actually giving me times that it was going to be on TV next. And it was saying that it was going to be on at 12:30 today. So they're still playing it.
Delisha asked a cool question.
What was Delicia's question? Where's that? Is it up there? What would be a good double feature to pair with Death Becomes Her? Oh, that's it. It depends whether you're going similar tone or try and balance it out with something serious.
Like, if they both had to be on the same movie poster, they would have to fit.
I would pick Creepshow.
That's a good one.
Because Creepshow that's another one that has like a very similar tone, feels very Tales of the Crypt, very like comic booky. So I would go Creepshow, Stephen King, and
yeah, I mean,
I was gonna say The Craft.
The Craft is a good choice, like feminine.
Yeah, but like inter like fighting between them and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But then some of them get back together.
Well, that's interesting because in Death Becomes Her, they start out as enemies and they become unexpected friends, and in The Craft, they kind of start out as friends and become unexpected enemies.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a good bookend.
And then you can add in like Mean Girls as like a third, as like the midnight feature.
Even Mean Girls.
It was actually in my head. It was Mean Girls or The Craft, and I'm like, well, let's keep it horror. But
I like all these choices. It's a movie you could watch with any other movie.
The Witches of Eastwick, Randall says, that's a good one.
Yeah. I mean, you could even like we said before, it does feel like an old movie from the 50s, so you could even go to something back then, whether it's horror or whether you've got feuding women in films from the 50s. None for some reason spring to mind right now. I know
I was gonna say, like, you could even go House on Haunted Hill because Meryl Streep's character feels like a Vincent Price wife.
The wife, yeah.
Like the wife in a Vincent Price movie.
Yeah,
I mean, Bruce Willis is Vincent Price before he gets beat or after he gets beaten down, like all the way.
Yeah, I mean that's where I was thinking with, if you're pairing it with an older horror, you would go because Price is the archetypal. Let's put a bit of fun into our horror.
Yes,
and which is exactly what this is. But there was plenty of other non-horror stuff.
Raul says you can go Army of Darkness as well, which you were talking about how it has a feel of a...
That... You could. I mean, you could watch Army of Darkness with anything.
Yeah. I love Army of Darkness.
Yeah. I feel like that's the first movie I remember like going to. It was like a family video. It wasn't even like a Blockbuster or anything like that, but it was like a family chain like video store. And I remember renting Army of Darkness and then not knowing anything about it because I didn't know it was attached to Evil Dead. I saw Evil Dead with my uncle.
The first thing I ever saw is I walked into the room and my parents were watching the scene where Ash breaks the mirror and there's a bunch of little ashes and they're all attacking him with forks and stuff. And I saw that happening. I had no idea what any of it was. And I was like, what the heck is this? And I got totally sucked in. And then I had to rent all the movies because it was just so, like, that's the best scene to freaking come into.
The first tattoo I wanted to get was the eye on his shoulder. But I, like, decided against it because
you're a goody little two shoes?
Yeah. But I figured it would, like, look like a weird growth, like, by the time I was, like, 80. Well, not in a good way. Like, well, you've seen the tattoos I've gotten before you, so.
Oh. Okay, as we begin to wrap this up, let's see what else they're saying in the chat.
Yeah, let me see what else if I have anything else.
Eric's glad they changed that ending that we were talking about. So am I. That's
fun. No, I love how this movie is. Like I said, I wouldn't change anything about it. Yeah, that's basically all I have.
Yeah, I mean, it speaks
for itself, really.
It does. It's very fun. It's wonderfully campy.
We could take a page out of Matt and Brian's book. And was there like a single character not in the main cast that you really liked?
I shouted out Fabio.
Oh, Fabio.
His appearance in there. And I think there was
I love the doctor. He goes and he grabs a stethoscope and he throws it away and he grabs another stethoscope. Yeah. I thought the doctor was great. Oh, and how much did this influence St. Clarice diet?
Santa Clarita diet? Yeah, very influential to, I think, a lot of stuff that came after it.
Especially that doctor scene. I love that doctor.
Yeah,
If you liked Santa Clarita Diet, if you've seen that on Netflix, you'll probably like this as well because undead women that do things that are fun.
That it's even to the point of like dealing with stuff that's completely out of the realm of the things they deal with because of the lifestyle of the town that they live in. That's like a huge theme in both of those.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, guys, I think that might do it. That's about the right amount of time. Yeah, I think so. I don't know exactly how long we've been going. I think it's about the right amount of time, minus that whole weird echo 2 versions of the thing at the beginning. But if you did like this, please give it, a like and comment what you thought and share it around, because let's be nice to people. And sub to this channel as well, because there's always new stuff going on. And hashtag HH Picture Show if you want to talk about this. Follow me on Twitter at the Purple Dawn. Follow the HorrorHouse Podcast at HorrorHouse Pod. Guys, plug away.
You can see our channel at Odd Shaped Panel. That is our Twitter plug. Odd Shaped Panel being our main call-in show that we do. The channel also covers Let's Play. What else are we doing? Other stuff. There's other stuff.
We got the Night's Watch coming up soon.
Yep.
That's a Game of Thrones recap show for season 7. We're looking forward to that.
And we edit down our live episodes to like a 30-minute-ish segment for Tough Channel, which people may know from Fan Fiction, DVD Bunker, and BFF. And if you don't know them, you should check them out.
You definitely should.
And there is currently the couples episode we just recorded for Valentine's Day. That's currently on the editing table. I'm working on.
You can get me at Kimberbatch_OSP on Twitter and all the places that he just mentioned. Thank you guys so much for talking with me about one of my favorite movies. If any of you guys have any more discussion you want to have about this, feel free to tweet me, and Siempre Viva.
Excellent.
Playing that.
What was that?
That's what she says when she gives him the elixir, live forever.
Yeah, you know this film too much, don't you? Okay, guys, thank you.
I take back everything I said.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Picture Show. Until next time, goodbye.